Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is twinkle. And this is another verb that the viewer Luis suggested, so thank you so much for that suggestion. Now let's take a look at some of the definitions or the ways that we use this verb. The first way you might see or hear the verb twinkle used means to shine with a gleam that varies repeatedly between bright and faint. So most commonly, with this first definition, people are talking about lights as they use this verb. And to give us a better image of what this might look like, I've got a picture in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. You can tell there are some lights there, and you can see some look very soft, some a little brighter, right? And so that's that idea of maybe it's kind of coming in and out from a darker, stronger light to something that's a little softer or lighter. A second way you might hear twinkle used can mean for something to sparkle. Generally, when people use this verb in this way, they use it in describing someone's eyes. So they might be twinkling with excitement. You might see that description of a particular character in a story. A third way the verb twinkle gets used can mean to blink or wink one's eyes kind of repeatedly, right? So it's kind of an open shut type of deal. A fourth way the verb twinkle gets used might be a little surprising here. It's in connection to one's feet, but it's when someone's feet are moving rather lightly and rapidly. Again, that might be something you see in a particular story, describing or trying to create this image in your mind as you're reading about how quickly, yet lightly, someone is moving through a particular place. For now, you should know that twinkle is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, I'm going to drop the E on the end before I add ing. And that forms twinkling. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by just adding D, since this verb already ends in an E. Now our base verb, twinkle, ends in a voiced L sound. This means the ED ending is just going to make a D sound. I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. So it should sound like this: twinkled, twinkled. There is a single phrasal verb you might encounter, and that is to twinkle at. Generally, when this is being used, someone is smiling at someone with kind of like their eyes sparkling. Okay? An example of this: as he introduced himself, he twinkled at her. Right? So we might think of those eyes kind of fluttering between a blink and a wink. Now let's move on and let's practice our verb of the day in a couple different verb tenses. Today we're going to practice the present progressive and the simple future. Let's start with the present progressive. We use this verb tense most commonly to talk about things that are happening now or actions that are in progress. Many teachers, textbooks, and even other YouTube videos call this the present continuous, and that is perfectly okay. It means exactly the same thing. The reason I say present progressive, though, is I try and help my students remember that two P's in the name of a verb means you need two parts to your verb. Okay? So in the present progressive, we need to pay attention to our subject. We're going to use a subject, a present form of be, and then a verb that ends with ing. Okay? So, as an example, if my subject is I'm going to use am, and then we might use twinkling here, okay, as our example. But if our subject is you, we, or they, use are, and then that ing form the verb. And finally, if your subject is he, she, or it, use is, and then the ing form of the verb. Let's take a look at an affirmative example. The star Capella is twinkling low in the sky. Okay. So here, maybe there are some people out gazing, trying to find various stars, identify them, right? Someone is describing what is happening now. If you want to make a negative present progressive sentence, you need to insert not after your be verb. Okay, so again, we pay attention to our subject, we use the form of be that matches, then not, and then the ing form the verb. Here's another example sentence. These lights aren't twinkling. Something must be wrong. Right? You might hear this verb used in connection to various lighting decorations or lighting displays. Some people like that idea of kind of little flashing lights. Many times for particular holidays, you might see them as well. So here, right, someone is talking about a problem they're experiencing right now. Finally, let's look at making a yes or no question in the present progressive. To do this, start with your form of be, right? Whichever form matches your subject, subject should come next, and then you're going to use the ing form the verb. Here's my yes or no example. Are the Eiffel Tower's lights twinkling now? Right? So again, we might be able to kind of imagine being far away from this thing, but still seeing kind of bright and faint type lights. Now let's move on and talk about making sentences in the simple future. Today, we're going to make sentences with be going to. Sometimes this gets a little confusing for people because we're going to be using a present form of be. Okay? We're going to keep matching our different subjects. So again, I matches with am, you, we, they with are, A-R-E, and he, she, it with is. Okay? So what's different here, though, is after our be verb, we're going to use going to and then the base verb. So here, I'm not adding ing to the end of the verb. Let's take a look at an example. At any minute, this ring is going to twinkle. Okay. I heard a sentence like this as someone was trying to find something that had dropped and kind of fallen into a dark space, right? So they had a little light, a little flashlight, right? And they thought as soon as the light kind of made contact either with the metal or the gem that was in it, right, that it would give off this sparkle. And so that was kind of their plan here to be able to find that thing they had dropped. Now, let's talk about making negative simple future sentences with be going to. Again, we start with a subject, we use the form of be that matches, then not, then going to, and the base verb. Here's another example. His feet aren't going to twinkle over the ground at this early hour, right? Kind of maybe suggesting someone's not waking up. They're not going to be moving quickly or lightly, right? Maybe slowly and more labored, right? Finally, let's talk about making a yes or no question in the simple future. To do this, start with a form of be, whichever form matches your subject, that subject comes next, then going to and the base verb. Here's another example. Are these decorations going to twinkle like stars? Right? So, kind of asking about the plans, the intentions with maybe displaying these particular lights. Now, let's spend a moment looking at some words that are related to our verb twinkle. And the first word we're going to discuss is just the noun form of this word. So the noun twinkle has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation as our verb. Like the verb, the noun can have a couple different meanings. We're going to talk about two of them today. The first way to use the noun twinkle is to refer to a sparkle or a gleam in a person's eyes. An example of this might be, she spoke with a twinkle in her eye. Right? So again, maybe there's sort of some type of excitement, enthusiasm, or passion for something. A second way the noun twinkle gets used can refer to a light that appears to be brighter than faint. And faint here means less powerful, less strong, right? So it's kind of going in and out. An example of this might be, there's a twinkle of lights in the distance, right? So something you see shining strongly, then a little bit softer. Strong and soft. One last word for us to discuss today is the adjective twinkly. This is usually used to describe something that shines and rather in an attractive way, right? So we might have that brighter, fainter kind of pattern as well. An example of this, they bought all sorts of twinkly decorations for the party. Again, thanks to Luis for suggesting today's verb. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day.